If you go on Google today and you type down the name Timothée Chalamet, a bunch of articles will pop up. And these articles are about the description of the fall of an actor, maybe the failing career of a man. For nearly a decade, Timothée Chalamet was everything that Hollywood wanted. He was the representation of the next generation, talent, credibility, passion. He was a student of the craft. He was someone who respected the art. And there was also just enough unpredictability. He was not the next young actor who just wanted fame. But everything at last became crumbling down. And this final act was finally exacerbated at the Oscars night of 2026. So in this video, we are going to talk about the Timothée Chalamet arc. And either if you are a Stan fan, either if you are a hater, or either if you're just curious, I think this video is for you. Hello, my fellow little clouds. My name is Noemi, and I'm an Italian artist and the owner of fivepinkkumoshop, my small business. And here on YouTube, I talk about my art and show the journey with my small business. But also, I do talk about drama and online moments and trends that I think are worth to talk about. So for each different topics, I remind you that there's a playlist on my channel. So just go and check which playlist you feel to watch today. And if you like what I bring to the table, consider subscribing and liking the videos, and also maybe leaving a comment on what you want to see next. Just a reminder that I'm here to stay. I'm here for the long ride, and let's go on with the video. While I was attending high school, there was one professor that was really against talking about the beginning of an artist's life. But in my opinion, I think it's really important to address where everything began, because how can you understand that the same actor who grew up behind the scenes of the New York Ballet, it will end up kind of hating and making comments about the ballet and opera world? So let's go on and talk about the beginning of Timothée Chalamet and basically his life to better understand the situation. Okay, so Timothée Chalamet was born on the 27th of December in 1995. I was born in 1994, so we are almost the same age. But he was born in New York, and he's now 30, by the way. And he was born from a family of artists. His mother was a former New York ballet dancer, Nicole Flender. She danced on Broadway. And same thing goes with his grandmother, who was also a ballet dancer. He basically spent his whole childhood behind the scenes and on the backstage of the New York City Ballet. He was basically surrounded by people who were dedicated their whole life to the art. In an article published on the 9th of March of 2026 on The Guardian, regarding the latest drama attached to Timothée Chalamet's name, we will address everything later, don't worry. We can read, quote, "The actor referenced this family history promoting Marty Supreme last year, saying, 'I was always backstage at the New York City Ballet. My grandma worked at the New York City Ballet. My mother worked at the New York City Ballet, and my sister danced there. So I grew up dreaming big backstage at the New York Theater. You know, I had to dream big. This is an important detail that will come up a little bit later. Growing up, Timothée Chalamet attended LaGuardia High School in New York, and it's one of the most prestigious high schools in the United States. And while attending this school, you are in a place where students don't just experiment with creativity, they train for it seriously. Around this time, he also had a kind of different personality, let's say, and he also addressed this in several interviews. He also talked about his YouTube channel where he was making Xbox controller, like customized controller, and he was also into sports. He was really also hoping to have a career into sports, but this identity suddenly changed when acting was not only a hobby anymore, and it became the dominant side of his life. Around this time, when he was about 12 years old, we can see, you can also look up on YouTube, and I will link it down below. So if you're curious enough, he appeared on his first short film called Sweet Tooth, alongside with Jackie Rhodes. His early career also includes appearing on Homeland and Law and Order episode. But it was really into 2014, when he was around 17 years old, when he took part into Interstellar, and alongside with Matthew McConaughey. And honestly, for the love of God, I couldn't remember him into Interstellar, maybe because I watched the movie a long time ago. It is what it is. Nothing suggested, though, a super exposure, and I mean an immediate stardom, let's say. He worked alongside Matthew McConaughey, and this was the foundation of the Variety interview 1 hour that I watched full, by the way, and we will talk about this later, and we will analyze the biggest moment on the interview, we can say, later. But for now, let's continue talking about his life, because we're about to enter into 2017, when he finally had his breakthrough with starring into the main character in Call Me By Your Name. And his performance was praised. He was recognized for his emotional vulnerability and, honestly, depth. His character was impeccable, and he was only 22 years old at this time. So he was the youngest actor nominated for the Academy Award for Best Actor, and so basically he made also history. From that time forward, from 2017 forward, his rise was rapid but controlled. He didn't fall into the trap of becoming just another actor, just looking out for fame, young actor looking out for fame, or just a blockbuster face. He balanced indie movie, which he became pretty popular with, such as the Greta Gerwig's Lady Bird, which is one of my favorite movie. It's really, really, really beautiful. And latest, he started also in Little Women, both critically acclaimed movies. It was with Wonka where he proved that he could also star into a large scale commercial movie, which also he will go and talk about Wonka into the Variety interview, so we will talk about this too later. But in the timeline, we now approach the mid 2020s, and we find that Timothée Chalamet in the mid 2020s has built a really strong reputation. He was seen as a commercial success. He was seen as a indie movie actor. He was also described as a really talented and fashion icon too, because he was embracing himself in not only his performances but also for his persona. He intentionally or not also decided to break down the fashion industry, breaking down the masculinity in Hollywood, so dressing not in the traditional forms of fashion for men. He gave also interview that emphasized ambition and legacy, but also he stated multiple times that he was grateful for each role that he was able to take, and that he was in a learning curve basically. But we finally arrive in 2024, where he took part into the biopic of Bob Dylan, and he had a nomination into the Saga Award for his role into like Bob Dylan biopic, and he actually won this award. And it was in this time that the first sparkle started to light up, if we can say that, because in the speech that he gave after taking the prize, he thanked his mother, he thanked everybody that worked with him into the biopic. He was really, really grateful, but he stated that he's looking up to actors such as Marlon Brando, Viola Davis, and he also stated this, quote, "The truth is I am really in pursuit of greatness," end quote. So in order to not fake humble, he stated this, and he openly talked about wanting to be one of the greatest alongside all the actors. He made a long list of actors, and he also said at the end that the award that he was about to take home was fuel for his goal. His speech for some people was refreshing, and for some others it was the beginning of his ego. It was really in 2025 that maybe the fatigue was starting to show up, because he was everywhere. He was in every movie. He was on movies, press tours, fashion events, public appearances, and he started also being overexposed also for his relationship with the Kardashian, Kendall Jenner. He was seemingly entering into a phase that in 2026, after the nomination for the movie Marty Supreme, in 2026, everything came down to one moment that changed everything. And we're talking about the Variety interview that the Los Angeles Times described it all by saying, quote, "The fine arts world is ugly crying." Right after this interview, the Oscars night came. And the host, Conan O'Brien, didn't spare a word for him. Conan O'Brien, in his monologue, referenced the controversy and made some jokes. And by the reaction of the public, you could tell that the industry was aware about everything that was going on and that is still going on with this controversy and Timothée Chalamet's quotes and takes. Timothée Chalamet was there at the Oscars because he was nominated for the Best Actor for his performance in Marty Supreme. And the campaign for this movie was said to be really, really strong, but personal opinion, at least in Italy, I didn't saw so much like advertisement for the movie. Maybe it was just in Italy, I don't know. But it was stated online. I looked at many articles that they were saying that the Marty Supreme press was really, really strong. And the expectations basically were really, really high for the movie. This was supposed to be a defining moment for him, and at the end it wasn't. Conan O'Brien, as we said, made basically fun of him for almost all night. He made like two or three jokes talking about him. And honestly, Timothée Chalamet's reaction to these comments were just to laugh and clap. Laugh, I don't know if out of discomfort, I don't know. I couldn't tell, honestly. The most important thing is that he lost the award. And out of all the nomination for the movie, the film just went home with 0 Oscars. So this is something to address. But something that came after this that is in reference of the controversy is the fact that everybody came out and said what they thought about Timothée Chalamet's words. And we're talking about his comments regarding ballet and opera. The art community basically came forward, and directors and performers and institutions, they all spoke about this, and some of them were forgiving towards him. Some others were basically not. Some said we all said stupid things that we regret, but some others really were not okay with that and basically thought that Timothée Chalamet crossed a line. The situation was, as I said before, exacerbated at the Oscars. After the speech of Conan O'Brien, but also after the Timothée Chalamet applause moment to the ballet performer during the singers show, let's say. And we're going to talk about that. So let's go and talk about this controversy into deeply analyzing the Variety interview, which I think it's really, really important to fully address because it's an hour long. And also, I know that some clips were taken out. I don't want to say out of context because people always say that these are things that are taken out of context. But I think that some of them were taken out of context. First things first, I will link the interview down below in the box section, so you can go and watch it. And I really suggest that you do, because therefore you can form your own opinion on everything. The interview, I think it was really, really interesting for mainly one reason. If you are a movie fan, if you love movies, if you are into this kind of things, it was really, really interesting to see two big actors such as Matthew McConaughey and also Timothée Chalamet, which also has, a pretty long portfolio of works, talking into a university setting, which is the alma mater of Matthew McConaughey, where he actually teach. And I didn't know he was a teacher. Okay, I guess. And they are really informal talking. They call themselves my man, my man. And also there are a bunch of students there listening to this interview and making questions. So I think it's really, really interesting in this kind of setting. They talk about how they met, they talk about their careers, they answer to the questions of the student, and it's honestly something that made me say, I wish I was there, honestly, to hear them live. But it's on YouTube if you want to watch it. This interview is 1 hour. I want to state it really clearly. It's 1 hour. But I think it's really, really sweet, because for the full interview, what I saw for the major part was two actors, even if one is younger than the other, so a little bit less experienced, but still, there was a reciprocate feeling of respect and like affection that I could tell. They are actors, obviously, so I don't know. In my opinion, it was pretty clear that they respected each other. And but mostly I want to address the fact that Timothée Chalamet, for the whole interview, he was really, really, really respectful. He was really, really grateful. He said many, many times how much he was grateful towards everyone he worked with: Matthew McConaughey, Nolan, the director of Marty Supreme, and he was really grateful for everyone. And he's basically grateful for the life that he has, which is he continuously said things like, I cannot believe this is happening, I cannot believe this is my life, I'm really grateful, and such things like that. And I really want to make it clear, because I think that some things were really put it against him, like he's just a braggadocious douche. For what I could tell, it seems that he was just into a really informal setting, honestly. So the first thing that I want to address is the general thought on Wonka's movie, where he basically came out really braggadocious for the public perception. But in the context of what they were talking about, he basically said that he was reflecting on the unsuccessful reception of the movie for the public opinion. Like the general public didn't like, let's say, even though if the movie went really, really good at the box office. So they earned a lot with this movie, but it was not well received generally, let's say. And talking about this, people said, I read it online a little bit, that he was acting, with his ego, talking about, I took a big risk with this movie. It seemed like he was talking about the moment, the biggest moment of his career, that he did something really crazy for his career. In reality, during this interview, he came out really like honest, speaking facts, talking about the fact that no one wanted him since he was really into in this movie. Nobody wanted him to go and jump on a commercial family movie. He called it family movie. After all the serious role that he had, such as in Call Me by Your Name, he was known to be emotional. He was known to be, something really serious, characters with depth. Wonka was received as a family role into this movie. So he said, I went against everybody and I took the leap. And it was a quote, punk rock, end quote, move from my side. So this is what he stated. So I don't really think that this was to brag at all, because he said, it's not, I don't want to flex, even if it is the fact that the movie went well at the box office, and that those are facts. So, but in the same breath, he said it was not received well. So, but after this, I want to put a note here that it cracks me up that once after like the speaking and answering to a question, they are talking, and Timothée Chalamet goes to Matthew and says, do you remember that we did this? And each time he says this, Matthew McConaughey looks at him and said, no, I don't remember. Like, I love it. Let's go on and talk about the other stuff. Before this, I want to address the fact that also they both, but mostly Timothée, interacts a lot with the public there, with the students, and it comes off honestly really, really, really sweet. I didn't expect this at all. Even also Matthew McConaughey, but he's in a formal position, so he acts with composure, let's say. But Timothée Chalamet comes off like, I am your friend or something like that. So I really wanted to talk about this. He talks a lot during this interview about how lucky he is, how everything is crazy, career-wise. He cannot believe where he is with his career, and he thanks many, many times Matthew McConaughey for acting warm towards him on Interstellar. He thanks Nolan for taking him into the movie. And he says something that really resonates with me, which was, quote, I don't want to move in fear. I want to move in confidence and joy. And end quote. And it's honestly a powerful statement that I think as an artist, it really had, I don't know, a certain type of effect on me. So I really wanted to bring this to you if you're not going to watch the interview, if you're an artist too, because usually we as an artist, since this is a really a job that it's usually not taken seriously, people won't listen to you. And also it's a job that it's really hectic, and today you have a lot to work on and tomorrow you don't have, so you never know if you can make it at the end of the month or such, like stuff like that. So I think we all as artists move in fear, and the fact that he said I want to move in confidence and joy, it's something that it would be a little reminder for me. I want to move into this world and into my craft and art. I want to move in confidence and joy. So it's something that it really had an impact on me. In the same breath, also Matthew McConaughey is really uplifting with him, and he appreciate his words and everything, and also he kind of puts a mirror in front of him, not in reality, but he says that he also has, like when they worked together on Interstellar, he could never tell that by now he would have been sat there with him, doing this interview with him and with Timothée Chalamet, and all the success that he had during his career. So it's really a back and forth of comments between two actors that talk about their career. Also, Timothée Chalamet talks about his support system, which is something really, really cool. He says that he has this beautiful support system around him that basically supports him. But also, he talks a little bit briefly about his parents, and it's something that I think it needs to be noted. He said that he said that his parents are pathologically don't expect anything out of him, maybe to a fault. And I think this is really important in this discussion. Also talking about the fact that he's really grateful for this. He still cannot believe of the life that he has, and about the fact that we are going to address a little bit later that he repeated a lot during this interview. But let's start talking about the juicy part, let's say, because during this interview, a lot of people mentioned the fact that he was talking a lot about his last movie, Marty Supreme, and honestly, for me, it seemed fair, because this is what actors that star in a film, in a movie, into a documentary, docuseries, TV shows, they do that. They go on TV, they go on radio, they go on podcasts, they do YouTube videos to promote their product. So also, he was not mentioning Marty Supreme out of nowhere. He was connecting Marty Supreme to each needed place, let's say. For me, it was just a move to make people, also the students there and people who watched the Variety interview, to make people curious to go and watch the movie and pay for the ticket, honestly. So the juicy part comes when the ballet and opera matter pops up, and I think it's really important to look at all the, I don't want to say all the interview, but the whole section where this phrase comes out. The discussion came out pretty harshly, and basically made newspaper articles headlines, and everything was regarding this quote. quote. And another part of me feels like if people want to see like Barbie and Oppenheimer, they're gonna go see it and go out their way to be loud and proud about it. And I don't want to be working in ballet and opera or things where it's like keep this thing alive. Even if no one cares about this anymore, all respect to the ballet and opera people out there. I just lost 14 cents into viewership. I just took shots for no reason, end quote. So it can seem like the main focus here is the I don't want to be working into ballet and opera or things like that where we need to keep this thing alive. That phrase was everything that came down on him, all the shitstorm that he went through. Honestly, in a certain way, I understand this. I understand the shitstorm, but we're going to talk in a little bit. After this quote, he goes on and he tries to vocalize like an opera singer, mad. But this discussion, I just want to give you, if you're not going to watch the interview, I just want to give you the context. So basically, everything started with Matthew McConaughey answering to a question, and he basically was talking about the fact that the attention span of people it's really really low, and basically the consumption of media and movies and everything is changing due to the social media use, like shorts and TikToks and reels. People do not have the attention span. They have the lower attention span ever. And he talks also about even TV shows are changing constantly their content, because if before you needed to wait like 25 episodes to have the big moment on this show, like the emotional moment or whatever, right now TV shows need to have that from the first episode. Otherwise, people won't lock in. People won't get they just won't watch the show basically. So they need to come up with something each episode and to take people like the climax at the end of each episode. Before everything, it was only at the final episodes, after at the final series, like the end of the series, after 25 episodes basically. So they're talking about this, and in this discussion, Timothée Chalamet comes up saying that he finds himself in between the discourse between the fact that the attention span is low and between the fact that watching slow paced content like movies and stuff, it can be good for him. So he finds himself in between, which I can relate honestly, because as you can see on my YouTube channel, there are videos, really long videos, and I'm the first one who consume a lot of long videos. But at the same time, if I need to scroll for like an hour on shorts, I will do that too. So honestly, I understand that. The fact is that Timothée Chalamet went a little bit hard, just a little bit, and maybe out of touch, because it was a personal opinion shared regarding the new way of the viewer to engage with some art forms, which excludes ballet and opera for the fact that they can be perceived as boring from the new generations. But in the same breath, we can say that there are ways, sometimes there are ways, also if you are a public figure, big public figure, there are ways sometimes when you can vocalize your thoughts in a better and different way. And honestly, it happens to say shit during, your life, and maybe you don't feel to give the full explanation. Maybe you don't think in that moment that you need to give a full explanation. It happens to everyone in our life, I think. But I can say that during this interview, he was pretty confident, he was pretty also relaxed, I can say. But you can tell that he understood that he did some stupid shit after that phrase, because first things first, he tried to not even minimize, but to brush off it with sarcasm. And honestly, I do that a lot when I see some shit, so I can understand that feeling. But also during the rest of the interview, he became a little bit stiff, and he also brought back the ballet and opera situation later, when another person asked about AI into the industry, how it will perform, how it will be integrated. And they both, Matthew McConaughey and Timothée Chalamet, answer to this question. And when Timothée Chalamet goes to answer to this question, he says something really, really beautiful, honestly, which is the fact that he's a public figure, and he wants to protect artists and artisan and all the people in this industry. But also at the same time, he wants to open the way to other people who will come after him. So he, talking about the AI, he brought up the ballet and opera people, theater people, saying that this AI wave will come for everybody, and it's like a tide, and you just need to see and understand and maybe try to, he names Fran Dasher, maybe they need to come together to better understand how AI can be an influence in their life. So he brings back his phrase a lot, and I think he does that because he knows in that moment that it will have some backlash, and it finally did. So during this discourse, he placed two players on the field. Basically, he plays the viral culture and the fast content versus tradition and centuries of art and discipline. And I think that with talking about this, he kind of, maybe not willingly, because he wasn't honestly thinking, I think, but he kind of shined a light onto a matter that needed to be brought up, honestly. So it is a good discussion to have. Yes, we need to talk about opera, ballet, theater. We need to talk it a lot, honestly. Should we teach people to appreciate this art? Yes. And I think that bringing this up in such also brutal way and honest way gave people the also the entitlement to educate people, such as Timothée Chalamet, on this matter. And you can see this a lot on social media. I'm talking about Blue Sky and Threads, and honestly also everywhere on newspaper right now, because a lot of people came out to address this and to give their opinion and to talk and to share their thoughts on this. But also I think that something already good came out of this, which is again the Oscars performance of Misty Copeland into the Sinner's performance I Lied to You. And basically Misty Copeland is a retired ballet ballerina. She was a ballerina, retired, and she came out of retirement to give out this exhibition, and it's already something beautiful that happened out of this. And it's also we need also to address in this arc that it was recorded and it became kind of viral the moment when Misty Copeland came out on the stage dancing and Timothée Chalamet did like a solo standing ovation, let's say. I didn't look up if that's true or not, but either way, it's hilarious in all this discussion, honestly, because some looked at this gesture as genuine, and some others looked at it as calculated. I honestly don't have a proper opinion on that, because he grew up watching ballet and being behind the scenes on the to the backstage, but at the same time, maybe into this discussion we can also talk about the fact that maybe ballet and like the Sinner performance gave us a beautiful way to look at theater and look at ballet, like the mixture of everything on this stage was beautiful, was amazing, like singers and dancer and theater and actors. It was really, really, really amazing. And honestly, I think that this situation can be finally a useful moment to talk about something that I think it's been put behind everything else for once too many time, which is basically the oldest form of art. And now with the social media engagement that this situation has been brought to, we can see people shining up, honestly. And I'm talking about, I don't know if you saw it, but there's many people coming forward, and I saw the girl singing like opera singing voice with her father singing the Expedition 33 song. I don't remember the name. It was on TikTok, and I saw people dancing and showing off basically their talents. And I think it's really, really important because we can say that Timothée Chalamet pissed off many people. He can come across, it can be perceived as a braggadocious, full of ego person who can talk about his life and stuff like that, but isn't what we all would like into our life and into our day-to-day life. And I'm not talking only about artists, I'm talking about being the chef for your restaurant, being the CEO of your company, being the store manager of a shop. He talking about he's he looking out for great to become one of the greatest. I think it's such a beautiful lesson that sometimes we don't share in order to not be perceived as, with big egos and stuff like that. But we can think it. It's allowed to think it, but it's not allowed to say it out loud, which for me is kind of stupid. But in the big picture, I think that he's so focused on his career, and he has this goal so clear, that he comes across not humble at all, and because he chose to not fake humble, basically. But wasn't like Steve Jobs, I think, who said be hungry and like be passionate about what you want to do. So why is it wrong to state it out loud? Talking about the 2024 speech that he gave, and talking about the fact that he wanted this Oscar, but also talking about this situation of the Oscar and Marty Supreme and Ballet and opera. It was pretty bad, honestly. It was an out of touch and honestly disrespectful for a bunch of people. And am I happy that he didn't win the Oscar? Yes, I'm happy about that. Also because I think that even if he's 30, I'm 31. But we both, like, it's not that 30 or 31 you are full and you don't need to learn anymore. No, I think that this was a lesson. This was a moment where he was given a lesson. It was disrespectful. I'm happy that he didn't win the Oscar, but at the same time, I can say that I'm really, really sorry that Marty Supreme didn't even won one Oscar. I don't know. I didn't watch the movie. I don't know if it was because the movie was not well received. I don't know if it was because of his statements and his controversy that they didn't win any award, any Oscar. But I'm really sorry for the people who contributed to the making of the movie. And I know that behind the movie there's thousands probably of people working. So I'm really sorry for them, but I'm happy that he didn't win. I can say that he made this comment and it was disrespectful into the face of the community of the opera and ballet and theater. But you can say that you don't vibe with something, that you don't like something, but you are also adult enough and mature enough to phrase it correctly in a polite way, I think. Also, you are a public figure who needs to understand when it's okay to state something harshly, maybe because you want to make an impact, and which he did, honestly, not in the right way, but he did. But I honestly think that something really, really good already came out of all this controversy, such as the social media coverage of everything, and people coming forward, people having their name quoted, and videos showing their art off. And who knows, maybe out of this controversy, we were, Timothée Chalamet, honestly, was able, in a strange way, to spark someone's interest into this old art form, and maybe also love and passion towards it, and maybe to make them fall in love with this and wanting to make a career out of it, in the similar way that he talks about his career. And at the end, something that really came out of this interview, which I was going to address at the end of this video, is that he spoke a lot of how grateful he is for all the projects that he was able to make and to take, and for all the people that he met. But he also stated multiple times towards also the end of the interview that he is so scared to lose everything and to fuck everything up. And even if his takes were brutal and not well thought out, honestly, I just can say for his talents and the stories, the characters that he brings up to the big screen, that, dear Timothée Chalamet, I just hope that you didn't fuck this up. Okay, so this was the video. I wrote, it was maybe the second time that I wrote a script for this video, and honestly I was kind of reading it, and I think you noticed, and I am so proud of this script because it took me like 3 days to put it together and to have all the videos and all the references that I wanted. I don't think I'm going to show any of the videos, but I really suggest you to go and watch it. I will leave them down because it's actually a way to understand better a character. And since I'm a really curious person, I really want to enter inside the mind of the people that I met, so, and that I come across, honestly. So I really hope that this video was helpful or educational in some way, or let me just know your thoughts on this whole situation, because this controversy is something that as an artist really resonates with me. But also in the same breath, I can say that if someone will come up one day and say, you know, crochet is overrated, no one wants to do crochet, I would be like, okay, I will still do it. So it's like, and I love people giving out their opinions because it's the good way to start a conversation. I again repeat, there are ways to state facts, like to say that you don't like something. You don't need to be rude, you don't need to be not polite, but I really like when people say controversial things, because it's then that people raise and say, you know what, I have a thought on that, you know what, I have an opinion too on that, and I will say it, and I won't be afraid to say it out loud. So this is something that social media made possible for everyone to share an opinion, and it's something that I like to watch and to talk about, as you can see. So let me know what you think about this video. I'm going to edit this and to try to publish it as soon as possible. And then I want to talk in another video about the Peaky Blinder situation, Peaky Blinder situation, and about the actor situation, because I think it's really, really interesting. Let me know if you heard about this situation, if you want me to talk, or if you don't care. That's good too. Let me know if you don't care. We will see each other really, really, really soon, and thank you. Bye.